Everyone wants to know what's really going on with Brandon Aiyuk. So when Emmanuel Acho goes on and he says, I spoke to Brandon Ayuk's agent and he told me the whole situation and how it all played out. And this is what I can tell you about it. It sparks actually a really phenomenal conversation about this whole situation regarding Brandon Aiyuk, the trade request, and all the negotiations that have been going on with the San Francisco 49ers. I actually think this is the best conversation I have heard about this entire situation, and it's worth listening to. Now, there's a good chunk of this. I'm not going to show the whole clip. There's even more, but I think what I pulled will be pertinent to you and what you want to hear about this situation. So take a listen to Emmanuel Acho on Speak, along with James Jones, a former Packers wide receiver, and being able to provide his insight into it is really what makes this such a phenomenal conversation. But take a listen at what they say and what they reveal, and then we will react to it on the other side.
Based on my connections in the NFL, I actually called Brandon Ayuk's agent earlier today. We talked for 15 minutes. A lot of things I can't share, a lot of things I can share. I will share what I can share. But James, you go first.
Okay, you want me to go first, and you got all the info.
You go first, big dog. Now, Niners fans, you already know what time it is. Bang, bang. I will tell you all what you have not heard on any other airwaves thus far today, but I will do that momentarily. James, kick it off. Should Brandon Aiyuk want out of San Fran?
Absolutely. And he should want out because this is his first big payday. This is my time. I don't know what may happen after this. I can get hurt. Anything possibly can happen. This is my time to go get my money and make sure my family is set up for the rest of their lives. This is my chance. So if you can't give me the $30+ million that I want, I have to go get my money elsewhere because I don't know if I'm going to come up and be able to get another contract. So for Brandon Ayuk's sake, it is time for him to go. I'm glad he did this, right? Do it before training camp. Y'all know, okay, contract negotiations, we headbutting. Hey, man, I'm requesting a trade because I need to get the money that I have earned and I deserve. And if it's not here because of all the playmakers y'all got and all the people that y'all have paid, then it's not here. But I have to go set my family up. My agent always told me, and this always stuck with me, he said, James, I hope you do win a Super Bowl. I hope you do have all pros and all this type stuff. I hope you do get a gold jacket. But he said, you lose if you have a gold jacket and you broke.
Oh.
That's what he told me.
Hold on, say that one more time, G.
You lose if you walk out of this game with a gold jacket and you are broke. You win if you walk out of this game with a lot of money because you have this amount of time in your career to make sure you make all that.
Well said, sir. Well said.
So for Brandon Aiyuk, this is his time to go get his biggest payday as in his young career. Gotta go.
Let me sprinkle in some of the conversation that I had with Aiyuk's agent.
You know what I'm saying?
Throughout. I'm going to sprinkle it in, Dave Hellman. Let me start with why we are where we are. The reason we are here is because the Niners grossly underestimated how the wide receiver market would explode. What we know as of now is that the Niners put out an offer to Brandon Aiyuk, roughly $26 million, and they have not budged since. Now, in the Niners' mind, they thought that was a competent offer, but why? Y'all have to remember, go back 4 months ago, $26 million was the highest paid for the majority of wide receivers. Cooper Kupp at $26.7 million. So if the Niners offer Aiyuk $26 million, that is fair. The problem is, the market exploded, and it exploded rapidly. Devontae Smith, the Eagles' number 2 wide receiver, making $28 million. Jalen Waddle, the Dolphins' number 2 wide receiver, making $28 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Detroit Lions' number 1 wide receiver, but shares an all-pro like Aiyuk shares an all-pro, making $30 million. So what was $26 million a good price is no longer a good price because the market has exploded. As you all know colloquially, yesterday's price is not today's price. So the Niners could have got out ahead of it, simply paid Brandon Aiyuk probably $27 million 3-4 months ago, and that would have been fine. But the problem is they grossly underestimated the explosion of the wide receiver market. And as a result, $26 million pales in comparison to the $30 million that Aiyuk deserves based upon his play comparatively to those that play the same position at the same level around him, a la Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is why we got here.
Everybody that I've been around that said, I want to trade, I'm like, bro, you really want out of it? Yep, because they ain't willing to pay me my money. My question to you, talking to Aiyuk's agent, and I don't know if you can share this, do the Niners have the money to give him $30 to $31 million?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because
that's a good
then
question.
that'll open the eyes to where this is my number, and y'all might want to keep me, but you can't even get to this number because of what we pay.
To have fun. I don't know if y'all have ever been in this situation. I know I have. James, have you ever been in a situation where somebody owes you money?
Yes.
Think at home if you've ever been in a situation where somebody owes you money.
Yes.
Nothing may vex you more than somebody owing you money. They don't pay you, but you see them out there spending.
Ooh.
I've had cats owe me money and they taking vacations, but they can't afford to pay me.
Please. Let me go call some people, right?
Yes, sir. Like, how do you owe me money and you telling me, hey, Acho, I ain't got it
And you
for
on
you,
vacation.
but I just saw you in Cabo.
Man,
And you was on a yacht.
Come on now.
Okay, now why am I bringing that up? After the Niners communicated, hey, Aiyuk, we don't got the money for you.
Who they pay?
Who they repay?
They re-signed Christian McCaffrey. They
To
extended
more
him.
money.
Yeah.
He was already the highest paid back in the league.
Yep.
So you made the highest paid back in the league, a higher highest paid back in the league, even though you telling me you ain't got it for me. So the kicker, what you have to realize, and what I've realized in this money, and you've probably in this industry, and you probably realized at home, when somebody tell you they ain't got money, that's not what they mean.
No.
What they mean is they don't have money for you.
That's good.
Aiyuk.
That's good right there.
They don't have money for you. The Niners got the money.
good.
The question is, do they got the money for Aiyuk? So to me, I would be upset if I'm Aiyuk, not because like they ain't got the money. They got the money. It's just, do they got the money
give it to me.
for you? So where I'm at with it, if I'm Aiyuk, I would want out.
Yeah.
Reason I would want out is because in the last 3 years, I've done everything right.
Yeah.
The Niners asked Aiyuk, yo, move to the Bay Area. He done moved to the Bay Area. Hey, come to off-season workouts. He went to off-season workouts. Hey, be a prolific wide receiver. He was an incredibly prolific wide receiver. Hey, block downfield. Good runs turn into great runs when wide receivers block downfield. Ask any receiver, ask any offensive lineman.
great at
That is what they say. Good runs turn into great runs when wide receivers block downfield. The reason the Niners have the best running back in football is because of McCaffrey, but not just because of McCaffrey. It's because you have dedicated wide receivers like Brandon Aiyuk, first-round picks, who block downfield. Not only should Aiyuk be perturbed because he hasn't been paid, but how can y'all tell me y'all not going to renegotiate with me, but then McCaffrey going to make him a higher, highest paid back in football? Not only that, when you had to have it, versus the Green Bay Packers, mounting a historical comeback. And you got to have it. Deebo Samuel's on the sideline. I believe he had a hamstring, if I'm not mistaken. Got to have it. Who converted? Aiyuk on a slant.
Aiyuk.
You got to win. Tight coverage. He caught it. You had to have it versus the Detroit Lions. You have to come back from down 17. Who had enough concentration on the football in that junction in time to not only get you down there, but help you all convert and end up taking that lead and ultimately winning the game and going to the Super Bowl? If you're Brandon Aiyuk, you have done everything right. And now it's time for the Niners to do right by you. That's why, Dave, I do think he wants out if the money ain't right.
And
money ain't right.
And he should. And I would love to see how the Niners manage to pull this off. I'll step out on a limb and say I don't think they can. Because on top of everything you just said, we talked about this yesterday too. What else is coming down the line? Brock Purdy and his probably $60 million price tag. Look, this is why the Niners have been such a dominant team. Do you realize, at least, I'm not talking about in terms of skill, but in terms of name power, accolades, Brandon Aiyuk's probably the fourth option in their offense. He's an all-pro.
So this begs
Think about that. I mean, it's a good problem for the Niners to have until right now.
This is the better question. This is
That's still really good.
Hold on, because this begs the better question. Who needs who more? Dave just made a good point. He's not the number one option in the Niners offense. Pre-show, we were meeting about all these things, as y'all know. Before I meet with y'all, I meet with the producers. And somebody asked, I forget who it was, like, hey, Acho, you think the Niners think they need Aiyuk? I said, it don't matter what I think.
Yeah.
The Niners don't think they need Aiyuk. Because in the biggest game of the season, he got 6 targets.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl, he got 6 targets. Deebo Samuel got 10 targets. Yeah. So it's not about what Emmanuel Acho thinks, James Jones thinks, Dave Helmers thinks. It's not about what you at home think. Do the Niners believe they need Brandon Aiyuk? Just look at the targets. I think it's a Bible verse. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. There your targets are, there your heart will be also. He got 6 targets. So it's not what I think about Brandon Aiyuk. They showed us that they don't think they need him that much. I do believe the Niners need Brandon Aiyuk. They're a better football team with Brandon Aiyuk than they are without Aiyuk. But if you only got 6 targets in the Super Bowl, you clearly don't feel like you need the man that much, James Jones.
And that's why they lost, because he didn't have the targets that he should have had. The Niners need Aiyuk more, and you just touched on it. The biggest plays in the Packers-Niners game is when he caught the slant and he caught a shallow cross that Brock Purdy threw at his shoelaces. And he went down there on 3rd down and 7 and scooped that ball off the turf. If he don't make that play, that game is over. Then you make the biggest play in the game in the Detroit Lions where the ball should be picked. You concentration, ball down to the 1-yard line. Every time Purdy needs to make a play and he can't hand it off, he is looking at Brandon Aiyuk down the field. That is who he trusts, the best route runner on the football team winning. He gives him the opportunities, and the numbers say that. They need Brandon Aiyuk out there if they want to win a Super Bowl. I do not think the Niners win or get back to a Super Bowl if Brandon Aiyuk is not on that field this season. Because Deebo Samuels at one point will be banged up again. That's just what history says. 4 seasons, he got 1 healthy season out of 4 seasons. He will be banged up. Who do you go to, a rookie? Because if it's just Kittle and Chris CMC, that's easy to defend. So who do you go to? You need Brandon Aiyuk. He's always available. He's a big-time player. He's an all-pro. You need Brandon Aiyuk, and you need him for your young quarterback. We talking this $60 million with Brock Purdy. You take Brandon Aiyuk away, now he has to do more. Now he may have to hold on to the ball a little bit more as he tries to get some trust in the young rookie Purcell. He has to do that. So they need Brandon Aiyuk. If they didn't have Brandon Aiyuk last year, they do not go to the Super Bowl, and they do not get back if they don't have him this year.
Well, again, if you made it this far, that means you were encapsulated by the conversation that they were having. So I'm going to put a link to the full video. There's like 8 or 10 more minutes of this conversation that I didn't include that are still providing good insight and good points. But to react to some of the things that they were talking about, I mean, it's becoming abundantly clear that the 49ers presented Brandon Aiyuk with a deal early on in the offseason, and they haven't spoke since. And so I think when we're looking at the context behind why Brandon Aiyuk is requesting a trade, well, if you're in the middle of a negotiation, yet it's not a negotiation because you're not speaking, you're not going back and forth, you're not presenting new numbers or new information, it's just, it is what it is, it's left out there and that's it, then I could imagine where Brandon Aiyuk would feel some frustration if the team that says they want you and says they want to move forward with you aren't. I mean, again, this is my takeaway from what was just said. If they're not communicating back and forth, that has to be abundantly frustrating for this situation. So maybe that puts into context some of the summer antics that we have seen from Brandon Aiyuk on social media to kind of understand that the 49ers haven't been communicating with him throughout that entirety of that process. So I think that's one of the things that, seems clear from what, was told to Acho from the agent is like, listen, we're not talking. There's no negotiations. We're not communicating. It's been months since anything has been presented. And I don't know how you're supposed to move forward in that particular situation if the original numbers that weren't presented as discussed don't match the market value for what Brandon Aiyuk is worth. So that's why this whole situation, I think, is just complicated. Obviously, Brandon Aiyuk and his representation are going to have thoughts, feelings, and how this thing's been going out. The 49ers have a rhyme and reason to why they do what they do. And again, I think it really takes being inside those rooms to really understand. I think I've talked about this before. I have a hard time contextualizing that. I have a hard time, if that is the case, where understanding that these deals are going back and forth and no communication is being had. And that seems like a challenging spot to be in for a player or for a front office that wants to get a deal done. So, and again, I don't only know we're only hearing about one side of it. We're not hearing about what's happening on the 49ers side. We don't know what's going on from their perspective, and they continue to kick the can around like, do the 49ers not have money? And that's where they got into that kind of conversation about like, well, they don't have money for BA. They got money. They paid CMC. They understand what's coming down the pipe. Now they have to be smart about it. That's one aspect of it, but I just felt it was an interesting conversation. I think it provided a little bit more perspective from Brandon Ayuk's side, which again, we don't have a ton of perspective other than what we've heard from Brandon Ayuk. And unfortunately for BA, that comes across a certain way to a large segment of the fan base. And so it might not hit from that particular perspective. It might help him from a leverage standpoint in the conversations. But it does seem like it's become a situation where fans have every opinion under the sun. Trade him for Devontae Adams, get him out of here, doesn't want to be here, pay him whatever he wants. There's so many varying opinions on this situation. So does it sound like it's going to come to a close anytime soon? And what will be the outcome? What will be the conclusion? Will it be Brandon Ayuk getting paid, or will it be Brandon Ayuk playing out on the 5th-year option, getting tagged and getting traded next year? It's going to be a very fascinating training camp, especially is Brandon Ayuk going to show up? So this is just going to be ongoing until something gets done one way or the other. So let me know what you guys think about what they had to say. Again, good conversation. Linked it in the description below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.